7 wins out of 10 rounds certainly makes it appear as though momentum is on the side of newly crowned champion Bradley Hawley. But being able to carry on with such domination is easier said than done. Michigan in particular is a place where anything can happen, and Hawley could just as easily find himself last as he could snag another win. How will the new season kick off for him? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 1 of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. Adam, usually the term D-shaped oval elicits thoughts of cookie cutters. However, this track is anything but.
No, Joe, Michigan International Speedway is quite a beast to handle in any mechanical grip vehicle. While you won't see the dense crowds of cars at the MENCS tonight, what you will see is high-speed edge-of-traction driving from our truckers as they tackle this 2-mile or 3.22-kilometer oval. The 18 degrees of banking in the corners may be uniform, but the 12 degrees of banking down the front, quote-unquote, straight, prepares the truck well for the slingshot into Turn 1, with the truck's grip only giving out as you ease into the slowly unwinding Turn 2, which flings you onto the flatter 5-degree backstretch. Expect some folks to set up high through 1, diving almost to the apron to try and get a run down the backstretch. If they're able to get alongside, they can carry a lot of speed into 3, but have to watch out for the over-under into 4 as that 18-degree banking quickly returns, upsetting the front of the truck on entry. This, along with the subtle shift back to the 12-degree front stretch, can make the truck feel neutral and floaty, encouraging the back end to come around, especially on this setup, which is hard to catch on these trucks. Add to all of this a 35 truck field tonight, the biggest in 2 seasons, and some of the fastest drivers' chances to make meaningful headway on Bradley Hawley in the championship since 5 races ago, and you've got the recipe for a tense, challenging race for these truckers tonight. But let's cut to the action and take a ride around Michigan International Speedway in a NASCAR Gander Outdoors Series truck in our GSRC lap guide.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global SimRacing Channel. I'm Brian Yazek, taking you for a spin around the Michigan International Speedway in the GSRC Chevrolet Silverado, my home track. So for your laps here, it's going to be a big sprawling speedway, a lot of room to run, but getting it wound up, you're going to run all the way up here kind of right next to the fence. And then down into Turn 1, you're going to let it float out of the throttle just a little bit, probably down to about half throttle. Let it find the seam down here on the bottom lane. Don't go below that seam. It will de-wedge the vehicle and you'll spin out in about a heartbeat. Aiming for that crossover gate out of Turn 2. Don't hit it. Turn 3 is actually really easy to overdrive here at MIS. As you can see right here, you go into the corner just too hot and it doesn't want to turn down to the bottom where the grip is. But you can still make time up here because coming out of the corner, you're going to be sailing it really high out of the corner, getting a big arc. And then you're going to see guys run right down here a lot too as the run progresses, especially for your qualifying lap, but as the race runs, because it allows for a little bit of a draft block. Back down into Turn 1. Out of the gas a little bit, into it, back out to full throttle, right at about the apex of 2. Aim for that crossover gate, and back down the back stretch. A lot of room to run here. You can see guys going 2, 3 wide, maybe even 4 if they're brave enough. Turn 3, let it lift out right about where the caution light is up there on the wall. Back into the gas hard. Let it eat on the bottom, drift it out towards the fence, out of Turn 4, down the front stretch for the final time today. Down all the way here to the apron, don't clip the grass, but across the line, and that is going to complete our track guide around the Michigan International Speedway in the GSRC Chevrolet Silverado. I'm Brian Yazek. Enjoy the show.
There you see a lap around Michigan, and we mentioned that the new champion has been crowned, Bradley Hawley, our winner. So why don't we take a look at how those driver points wound up at the end of last season. Bradley Hawley winning by actually quite a margin, 79. And it was very close between Sink and Haynes, but in the end, it was Haynes who swapped positions with Braden Johnson in that final round, getting himself up into the top 3. The only Canadian out of a sea of Americans here in this American Oval Racing Series. Well, I guess it is an American, as they do have a lot of Canadians racing in here. Charles Sumner, of course, rounds out the top 5. Now, what about the team's championship? That's something that means a lot to these drivers as well, Adam.
Yeah, definitely. What a back the stable Whataback has really shown its hand last year, taking the first 3 slots with Fat and Furious with Bradley Hawley and John LaBaff, taking that coveted top spot. But Whataback Racing taking all of the podium positions for the team standings and the team's championships, with Forward Bite Racing coming home in that 4th position, and then Gray Riders climbing up to 5th just in the last race of the season. So a great job from Besaw Jr. and Champagne.
And if you've never watched this series before, first of all, welcome. Second of all, you're in for some good racing. Let's take a look exactly what this race entails and the race details. Now, they have 2 cars they can choose from. They are identical in their physics, the Silverado and the Tundra, so they are even, don't worry, even though they are both modern NASCAR trucks that they can race. They have 100% fuel, but it is fixed setup. They do expect at least 1 stop today of this 55-lap race, which is limited on time to an hour. They cannot go longer than that, even with the green-white-checkered. The incident cap is at 13, meaning you can also be DQ'd if you race a little bit too rough. And that also includes some other rules, which we'll go over in the pre-race here. We'll have Adam help explain in a little bit how some of their new penalties work this season that they have introduced. They, of course, also do not have a spare car. So if you damage it, you can't just hop into the pits, come back out, and get to racing perfectly clean again. You got to go and get repairs. Right now, we're letting warm-up finish out. So before we get to the qualifying, Adam, I talked about the new penalties, and that has to do with the cautions now, I understand. Almost sounds a bit like license points that they've introduced.
Yeah, definitely are. The series organizers from last year thought that there were too many cautions plaguing these truck races, so they've instituted a new policy, and this is basically like points on your license, like you said, that you get in the FIA. And so basically, if you are found at fault for a caution that doesn't have to do with netcode, you will be given at least 1 penalty point. And this point goes onto your license. And if you've been assessed with 2 caution points within a 3-race period, and this is rolling forward, so it works just like the penalty points on a license in FIA. If you've got 2 caution points in a 3-race period, then you will be ordered to start from the rear of the field. So you'll get an end-of-line penalty before the green flag. If you're assessed 3 caution points within a 5-race period, you'll be suspended for a race, and it will not go towards your drop weeks. And then if you're assessed 5 caution points during the entire season at all, you'll be parked for the remainder of the season. So these drivers are really under the gun to be very safe.
I think they're taking it seriously on trying to get some cleaner racing out there. Just a few seconds left in this warm-up, then we get to the single truck qualifying. Some of the names that we've been looking at are at least new to the series, not necessarily new to us. There's a few, it seems, that are friends of ours that have decided to hop in. Who are some of the newcomers that you've been watching here in the warm-up that you think could be ones to watch and could be a challenge to the top runners?
Well, I'm very excited that we actually have Rachel Hunt joining us. She has been a very successful driver in the Simsa series that it runs with the trucks as well. And so it's nice to see some crossover from her. We've also had some new drivers such as Nicholas Hunter, and not Nicholas Hunter, he's from last season, but Nicholas Schmeg, I should say. He was commentating last season, and he really has he's quite a truck aficionado, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not one of our commentators can transition to the track and have some success.
Well, the same goes for another commentator who's come in. If you were watching last night, you saw him. John Ambrose, also out here in the trucks trying to compete. Probably a little bit more known for his oval involvement over the years, but with his real racing experience, he could be one to watch out for. Riding shotgun, the team that he is with, they've contributed a number of drivers as well. We'll start to talk a little bit more about them, as right now we are getting a few times on the board.
Yep, everyone's still going around for their opening laps. They're going to be crossing the start-finish line to start their first laps here very shortly. We're taking a look at Rachel Hunt from Florida as she goes around in the number 16 truck. And here comes our first couple of laps here. Nobody's setting a fast time quite yet, but looks like John LaBaff is carrying the most speed into his first flying lap. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of lap he can put in as we go on board with Robert Passau Jr.
We've watched Robert race a lot last season. Obviously, pretty good driver in this truck, and it looks like as the times come in, William Hartman, currently the one to beat, has about almost half a second actually on Jonathan Warren. Now it's been chopped down to about 0.2 of a second. Mitchell Clark on the front row. As times continue to tumble in, they're going to change quite a bit. You'll see them all on the left-hand side of your screen. Quite a big field out here today, so it's probably going to be important, despite the fact that you can make moves on this track, to at least get up there and get out of the trouble early on in the race.
Quite a few newcomers up there in the top 5 positions. Nick Ketchum, Rachel Hunt. Then we have Mitchell Clark, who raced with us a couple of races last season, but wasn't quite a consistent one, down there in the 5th position. Colton Lane popping up to 3rd now.
Looks like Robert's going to abandon his second lap. You were talking about during, as we were watching the warm-up before we went live, you noticed coming out of turn 4, like we saw with Robert, both that and turn 2 seem to be really tricky in this fixed setup. What's going on out there?
Yeah, so as I talked about in the pre-race track description, the exit of turn 2 moves from 18 degrees of banking down to 5 degrees of banking, and that's a significant amount. So you'll get the rear end of the truck really starting to come around on you. And when you come onto the front stretch, you're going from 18 degrees of banking to 12 degrees of banking, but it's a lot more gradual. So the truck kind of floats on you, and that can lead to rear tire spin as well. So this entire race, their drivers are going to have to be really careful to keep their truck underneath them and not get that right rear tire spinning. If it gets too hot, then there's going to be no way that they can control their truck off the corner, and they're going to lose a ton of speed down the straights.
So we watch also Brennan Chatley come down after his qualifying. This is Nick Hunter working his way around, and I believe he's yet to set his first timed lap. Let's see if this is a warm-up or if he's on a flyer. He is on a flyer. That is a 41.2. That only is good enough for 25th position. So he's going to have to go around for another try.
And with 1 minute left, we still have 9 truck drivers who have not set a time yet. We're taking a look at Adam Zemke, who hasn't put in his first time yet. He puts one in now, and that's going to move him up to 23rd position. But a lot of these truckers really trying to wait to see whether or not the weather gets any better, but they've got 51 seconds to go. So if they're not out there now, they're not setting a time.
I don't blame them for waiting. If we actually take a glance at the weather, it's 120 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface. Clearly, it is a hot Michigan afternoon. Thankfully, not much wind, but my goodness, is it going to be slippery.
It's going to be slick just due to the track temp. Thank God it's not more humid than it is. Otherwise, these guys wouldn't be able to hold on to it at all.
So, as everybody should be out on track, at least trying to start their first or last timed lap if they want to get a time in. So we are watching Kalen, who is not set a time yet. He's going to come across, hopefully just in time. His first lap didn't count, and his second lap didn't count for some reason. Well, that is odd.
Yeah, he clobbered the wall on the exit of 4, Joe. He just didn't have enough grip on down there in the middle groove. He was trying to use the middle groove to go fast, but yeah.
Well, that sets the grid, so let's go through our starting order for the day. I said it was William Hartman up at the top early on. No one was able to overtake him. He's got the pole over Rob Haynes, who will be starting next to him. Row 2 has Daniel Knight to the inside, and our current champion, Bradley Holly, will start in 4th. Row 3, it's Nick Ketchum, flanked by Colton Lane. Then in 7th is Dominic Begin, and he has Rachel Hunt next to him. Mitchell Clark will be P9. 10th is Thomas Sink.
Brendan Chatley is going to start P11 on that 5th row, or 6th row rather. Then we have Brandon Walter in P12. Colin Carroll is going to start P13 alongside of Robert Bassett Jr. in P14. Jonathan Warren starting in that 15th position. Then we have Austin Hunter starting alongside him. John LaBath in 17th position. Not a great start for him, especially considering the new season, but John Ambrose starting alongside him in that 9th row. Jalen Battle in the 19th position alongside Robert Malikian in the end of that 10th row.
Then in 21st, it's Frank Peacock. Adam Zemke will be starting in 22nd. Mike Franklin is 23rd. Nick Schmeg, who we were talking about, will be 24th at the drop of the green. We get to the last of the cars at set times. Doyle Lawrence, Andy Duchesne, Brett Adams, Nick Hunter, and William Lee. That goes all the way to 29th. All these drivers behind did not set times. Paul Williams, Josu Telez, Adam Young, Mark Kalin, Baron Hilton, and Adam Shane look to round out the field. We do not see Zachary Zwar in the session, so I believe he will be a did not start for today, just as the pace car now starts to take off. Got one pace lap, then we go racing for hopefully 55 minutes. We'll see if we get to that hour first. We do have 2 green-white checkers available if we get a caution towards the end to send us into overtime.
So William Hartman is going to start on pole. That puts him with 2-point bonus lead. So he's the first guy to. He's going to have should have 3 points by the time we take the green flag for leading a lap and for pole position. So that's going to be good for him starting the season off well in points.
Do they count that leading a lap even on lap, I guess, 0, you would call it, when you cross the line?
Well, I'd assume he's not going to get beat to the green flag, but I mean, I could be wrong. It's possible that he could get beat to the green flag, but
well, I figured they wouldn't count it as leading a lap until he completed the first lap, wouldn't they? We'll have to check into this. I'm curious.
We'll have to check. Yeah, it's one of the things that changes depending on the series. So, and depending on what series you're running and what classification you're running. So sometimes leading lap 0 can count as leading the lap in points.
All right. Well, we'll dig into the rule book and we'll try and confirm for our audience, figure out exactly how it works. But in the meantime, the pace car leads Hartman up to the front stretch, dips down low, but he can't go yet. He has to wait until it gets all the way into the pit lane. Now he can accelerate away. He's waiting. Green flag comes out. Not the greatest of jumps for Hartman, but he doesn't necessarily want a big jump on the field. In fact, everybody's starting to slowly get up speed, relatively even to one another. Now is when we'll start to see them fan out through these wide 18-degree turns. Trucks already getting up 165 miles an hour.
Yeah, Joe, the back of the field just barely got in line before we started that race, so this large field is something that they're not used to in this series, but now everyone's gotten going, and everyone's very clean on that backstretch now. So here we go, back into turn 3 and 4. It looks like it's really tight up there for those top 4 positions.
They pretty quickly get single file, though. A little bit of a challenge for second place. That's Haynes up high with Bradley Holly down low in the blue machine. Going to see if he can take this one away. They're being followed by Daniel Knight in the 4th spot. Can Holly complete the pass down into 1? He's not fully clear quite yet. Rob Haynes still riding that quarter panel. Finally, he drops back, so the 184 drifts in the line.
And look at that. Thomas Sink right now trying to race against Brendan Chatley and Jonathan Warren and Colin Carroll. These guys are really close together. And this is just down there in that 9th position. This is a really intense battle. These guys are starting to lose grip already, Joe. It looks a little slick coming out of 4.
Certainly does. They should be up to speed by now. You can see Rachel Hunt as well, a little bit side by side ahead of them. That's with Thomas Sink for 8th position. Once again, once they get to the corners, looks like it's getting a little bit more single file. So we head back to the top 3. And it looks like 3rd is changing hands. Rob Haynes with Daniel Knight to the inside. Knight falling back very quickly. In fact, might lose 4th place. That's Nick Ketchum in the light-colored truck up on the high side. The 61 starts to lose a little momentum mid-corner.
Yeah, there's a little bit of gray up there in the top of 4, so that's where Nick Ketchum got trapped, and so he burned off a lot of his right front right there, trying to get up there and stay on Daniel Knight. But Daniel Knight got trapped on the bottom. It looks like the middle lane is working better for these trucks, especially with the current conditions.
So I have to wonder who's thinking far ahead early and maybe potentially trying to save fuel. These trucks cut such a huge hole in the air. Is it worth trying to sit back and let yourself be pulled along?
Depends on what you're trying to get out of today. If you're trying to go for a win, definitely not. You know Bradley Holly can take off in front of a field, especially if you got a long extended green flag run. So if you're up there in those top 5 positions, the top 10 even, you want to hang with him as much as you can. But if you're further back and you're going for a midfield finish today, or if you've got a teammate who's in the front and you're just trying to get backup points for them, then yes, definitely you want to try and conserve fuel.
So we take a look at the number 20 now. In position, Colin Carroll in the midst of a sandwich between Chatley and Clark. Looks like Clark had a little bit of a challenge from Warren behind, but those mean eyes seem to have warded off the number 47. Still going to go low down through 3 and 4. Can he get the shot off the corner to try and challenge the 3? It's looking pretty good for the low side for that red and white truck.
Bradley Holly's right now right on the back of William Hartman for the lead, and he's really starting to hound him. But I'm starting to wonder, we've seen this before from Bradley Holly. He doesn't necessarily want to get out in front. He might be thinking fuel saving, but whoa, Hartman getting a little loose on the exit of 2. But looks like Bradley Holly's not interested in passing right now. He's going to look underneath this time. We'll see whether or not he sticks it.
He's going to stay low, and he's to the left rear quarter panel, the 67, giving him space. Oh, and a big bobble off of 4. Has to catch the truck. Hartman manages to stay out of the wall and doesn't lose too much speed, but that gives the lead to the 184 for the first time in this race.
Also allows Rob Haynes to pass underneath, and Rob's now going to challenge Bradley Hartley for the lead. But it's going to be really difficult because these trucks are starting to get loose. You can see all of them really struggling with grip as they exit 2. Look at that. William Hartman sliding as well as Rob Haynes. Rob Haynes has to slip behind Bradley Holly and follow him down into the 3 and 4.
Sure, he's not too sad about getting that position, though. The 29th now up to P2. Behind them, watch out for Daniel Light and Dominic Begine. Begine has since overtaken Nick Ketchum to get into that 5th position. Another duck low for William Hartman in the 67 to see if he could get that 2nd place back. We got a car down pit, or a truck down pit lane.
And also John Ambrose is going through the grass in the middle of the front stretch. So John really struggling right now. It looks like he got loose coming off of 4.
Shane was the one that went down pit lane. What if those two were related? No, it looks like Shane was in there for a while.
John really mowing the grass there. That's a quick spin down the center there. That's really surprising that he didn't get more damage than that, and really impressive that he held it together. Oh, the 17 really struggling right there. Daniel Knight in 5th position.
And watch this replay on Daniel Knight since he's gotten it back together. Still holds on to P5. See the Carolina driver coming off the corner. Whew. 17 falling to the tail behind Dominic Begine now. So we come back live just behind him. Nick Ketchum continuing to fall down the field. Colton Lane is now on the low side of the number 61. Makes it look easy off the corner.
And Nick Ketchum, I just don't think he's comfortable with the way this truck is handling. He's staying up there in the gray at the top of the racetrack, and that's really making it difficult for him to get any purchase with his front tires coming off of 4. But for some drivers, having it tight feels better than having it loose. But it looks like we've got Hartman challenging Hawley for the lead now again.
Wow, after that initial mistake, the 67 not waiting around gets right back to the rear spoiler of the 184. As we watch from on board, following in the tire tracks. Still no cautions yet, and we're 10 laps in, about to start lap 11. Cuts it down a little bit low, but once again, a slight bobble off the corner from William Hartman. He falls back in line, gets the slipstream, and then rides up the banking.
Hartman doing a great job of staying on Hawley's bumper. You got to be careful, though, because even though you're facing a competitor, you actually can get these trucks aero loose by getting too close to the bumper in the turns. And that's the last thing that any driver wants to do, especially in the first race of the season. You don't want to get your competition angry, especially someone as strong in a race as Bradley Holly.
Now, I haven't looked yet, but checking just now about who are our climbers, Jalen Battle has done a fair job, starting 19th, now up to 13th, just about to make it 12th. Down low underneath Mitchell Clark. And you can now move Jalen Battle into 12th. 7 positions in the first 12 laps.
Battle's been preserving his tires very well. He's been very cautious not to slide the truck too much. And that means that he's got more tire temperature in the bank than the rest of his competitors. And that allows him to get really good runs through the center of the corner, just like you saw. Looks like he's going to look at making this 3 wide here. Thinks better of it and stays behind Brendan Chatley. But he's still going to gain a position there on Jonathan Warren.
Ooh, I saw a puff of smoke there, though. As we got 3 wide a little bit farther back, John Ambrose is trying to come back forward, and he is in an absolute cluster of trucks. Paul Williams up to his high side, down to the low side, that's Nick Schmeg. They come out of the corner safely. Still, it looks like he's got a lot of trucks to try and overtake to work his way forward. Zemke up in there ahead of him. Peacock up to his high side. They come down into turn 2. Turns 1 and 2. Adam Zemke just ahead of him.
Yeah, Joe, this is an extremely dangerous collection of about 7 or 8 trucks. They're all really struggling for grip on the exit of turns. This is all 3, 4 wide sometimes as they go into these corners. Nick Schmeg now looking low again into 3. We'll see whether or not he can hold it.
I think the 55 of Peacock had to check up out of 2 because he suddenly fell. And as we are still 3 wide with him on the top side, Malikian manages to sneak through. Schmeg doesn't get the spot, but that does give an opportunity to Mark Kalin to see if he can get both of them. He ducks down to the bottom.
Kalin with a fantastic run there into 1 and 2. He's going to duck it all the way down, try and get into Paul Williams. Thinks better of it and backs out a little bit, but he's still got the speed on Malikian. He's going to be able to carry it out, and Paul Williams sliding a little bit wide there.
And John Ambrose made short work of everybody. He's already up to 20th and has dropped that group as they continue to tussle with one another. On board with Kalin, down low the number 7, Paul Williams. Williams drifting up high out of turn 4, trying to stay out of the wall that we have yet to see collect anybody, but has certainly been threatening to.
I can report we already have 3 trucks who are one lap down or greater. Baron Hilton hit the wall sometime earlier on in the race, as well as William Lee and Adam Schoen. They're all 1 or 2 laps down, and a couple of them were in the pits, so we're already starting to see a little bit of attrition. And it looks like Jonathan Warren's had a problem.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. This is the number 47. I think he caught the wall on the exit of 2. Just understeered up, maybe? Oh, he got loose.
Oh my goodness, it's a miracle that he was able to save it as well as he did. Quite impressive from all the truckers to try and get around him.
Well, as polite as he was to not bring out a caution, unfortunately, it has cost him dearly. He falls down to 16th. We watch the replay from on board. It's a pretty hard flat to the right side.
Yeah, that's going to affect his steering for sure as he continues to go around. Also, his aero around this track, with it being 2 miles and quite fast, that's going to be a serious problem.
Just ahead of him, Rachel Hunt and Austin the Hunter going hard around 3 and 4. Rachel drifting up high, so this position going to go to Hunter. That's P14 for the 312.
Yeah, you really can't take the trucks up there. You really can't take many cars up there on the iRacing service. There's just no line that's built up that high. And so Rachel Hunt just scrubbing off quite a bit of right front tire wear there, trying to hang out on that high side. You can see where the track is discolored down low. And looks like we have a truck going around right now. That's Colin Carroll in the number 20. He manages to save it. Unbelievable.
Wow. We were predicting doom and gloom with cautions for this thing. And the number 20, somehow with a wild ride, managing to keep it from going fully around, gets it back to the racing line. Look at how sideways he was.
I think he must have forgotten that the Formula Drift Championship was earlier this year and decided that he was going to take his best shot at it.
Thought he was driving one of the Pro 2 trucks. Back in 18th, we can't forget about Besaw, who looks like he might lose his spot because John Ambrose, who gets the shot off the corner, but a little bit too much of one, has to catch it. The double aught still staying in line, and we got a caution. I think that's William Lee, the number 25.
Yes, it is.
And very similar to what we saw before, smacking the wall out of 2. And once again, everybody doing an incredible job avoiding a much worse accident. Schmeg might have gotten a bit of it, though. You drift up high, catch the wall. The green car is Schmeg. Might just barely tap him in the rear.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's very difficult, these trucks getting loose and then tight and then loose again. It's just very swapping. Yeah, it looks like he did catch a little bit of Schmeg as Schmeg tried to dive low. And so it's quite impressive, actually, that it was just more or less a one-truck accident here. Oh, wow, I think Schmeg actually managed to dodge that.
Yeah, from that angle,
And
it
the
certainly looked like.
37. What a for him.
Watch from Nick's perspective, that'll probably tell us whether or not he did hit. Again, we keep making a big deal out of this, but it's the aerodynamics of these trucks that you got to worry about. As we come back live, didn't look like he hit. If he did, it was the lightest of brushes and probably didn't affect him. But we do have trucks down pit lane. Pretty much everybody coming in.
We're going to see who can win this battle off of pit lane. It looks like before that caution happened, I believe that Bradley Holly might have fallen down a couple of spots. Oh, no. It looks like the 17 of Daniel Knight missed his pit stall, so he's going to be a couple seconds late. Let's see how this shuffles the field.
I mean, Knight missed it by about a car length, had to back up a long ways, and that is a good half dozen positions lost just from that one mistake. Still, it is a traffic jam exiting. Adam Young is the only driver to elect to stay out.
And William Hartman showing the strength of that pole position pit stall. He was able to get ahead of Bradley Holly, who had made the pass on him before that caution. So William Hartman is going to start at least P2, if not lead us to the green flag if Adam Young decides to pit.
Great stuff from Hartman. Certainly bringing the fight to Bradley Holly. Glad to see we'll have a good challenge after how well the 184 was performing last season. Not that we wish ill, but we like to see a good fight out here.
Yeah, competition is a very good thing, and it's awesome to see such a large field for the PRL truckers as well. It's been quite impressive, these runs that they put on. We know this set is really difficult to handle, so round of applause to all the truck drivers tonight as they've been able to handle this set quite well, especially with all the battling they've been doing.
And Adam Young has regretted his decision and brings the riding shotgun number 42 into pit lane. That's another one that his teammates with John Ambrose. There you see his truck, the double aught.
But at the same time, Joe, that gives him a point for leading a lap. And considering that there's a team championship on the line, if you're down low in the field and you can lead a lap like that and get a point for your team, that's a really good thing. So this riding shotgun team making their debut here in the PRL Truck Series, already thinking strategy long term.
Now, for some reason, I just saw Holly slow down and pull up next to Rob Haynes. Well, those two are not teammates as far as I'm aware, so I'm not sure why he would pull down next to him. The only time that you typically see that is to maybe try and look at some damage and try and relay some information. Regardless, he's back in line now. Your order when they get to restarting will be Hartman in the lead, Holly will be second, Haynes third, Lane fourth, and Thomas Sink is now up to fifth. For those wondering about what happened to Daniel Knight after that pit stop, he winds up in 10th from all those positions lost.
Yeah, he was 3 extra seconds on the lane over the average pit stop time, the average pit lane time. So he quite a few seconds lost on pit lane. And you know, while it may seem bad to lose those positions on pit road, it's actually that would have actually been worse if they would have gone on to green flag pit stops, because 3 seconds in the lane means that 3 seconds at least on track that you're losing. So this is actually a blessing in disguise that they had this caution if he's gonna miss his box like that.
That's a great point. Well, right now we're getting ready to come back to green as lights should be coming out on the pace car and they start to go double file. Surprised iRacing hasn't made it so you can choose the pace truck on the roadside so that they could do that for the truck races here in NASCAR. I'll have to
would definitely be awesome.
Oh, I'm hearing you can do that. Well then, we'll have to look into that. I just feel like it would be very apropos, even though we of course love the iRacing Mustang. So we're gonna get restarted on lap 23. And we still have all but one of our drivers still out there. William Lee, the only one who has left this race.
And Joe, you were talking about Jalen Battle's climb through the field. He's now up to P6. That's 13 positions up from his starting place of P19. So look for him to continue his charge to the front. Let's see whether or not he can get up there with those top two and start battling these two big shots for the lead in the championship.
And we've seen Jalen really be a force to be reckoned with in the past, so I wouldn't doubt if he would try and get up there, trying to get on the podium or potentially a win. Did Jalen qualify, actually? I believe. Yes, he did. So must have just had a mistake or something to put him that far back, because the pace certainly looks a little bit different out during the race so far. The Mustang pace car peels in. Not as long of a wait this time for William Hartman. In fact, a very early jump. Maybe too good of a jump. Bradley Hawley and Rob Haynes well back there. They're going to start to reel him in once they get to the backstretch, but already jockeying for position behind. That's Colton Lane and Thomas Sink swapping around. In fact, Lane getting underneath Hawley. And now as they all fan out and work their way off of two, how long of a green flag run do we have in store this time?
A very rare bad restart for Bradley Hawley as he's gotten underneath, and also Dominic Magine is going underneath Jalen Battle for that 6th position. So Battle's all over the track right now.
Already Haynes starting to pull in William Hartman. Bradley Hawley ducks down low, consolidating that 3rd spot. Bit of a challenge behind them on Lane from Thomas Sink, but instead looks like Thomas giving a little bit of a bump draft. Now Sink decides to go up to the high side, going around, taking it away. Move the number 48 up into 4th, having started this in 10th position.
Dominic Magine ducking underneath. That was a brilliant move from Thomas Sink, understanding that he had more grip because of the new tires. He just puts it on the outside and just outdrives him through the corner. So a really powerful move, but he's got a long way to go to catch back up to Bradley Hawley, Rob Haynes, and William Hartman in those top 3 positions.
Yeah, podium's starting to pull away. It's nearly half a second back to Sink. And that could be great news if they can really work together to try and extend this gap. Sink looking like he is nowhere. In fact, stuck in no man's land. No one up close, and then behind Dominic Magine, not really close enough to challenge. He might be getting a little bit of a slipstream and could close up, but he's got a couple laps to do it.
Bradley Hawley ducking underneath now of Rob Haynes. He's going to try and get by on the bottom side. If he can get a good run off the corner, he stays quite low. I was expecting him to even the corner out a little bit more and get a little bit more of a run on Rob Haynes, seeing that he went high. Oh my gosh, that was close as Rob crosses underneath Bradley Hawley and sticks in behind him. But these front 3 actually working together surprisingly well.
Back behind them, they're not working together. Walter challenging on the outside of Knight. Number Knight slightly out of position. This is going to give a tow to Colin Carroll behind the number 20, sucking up to the number 17. They hit turn 3. Down low, the 17 starts to stretch ahead as the momentum on the high side not working for Walter. Tires starting to wear a little bit after a few hot laps. Carroll's going to get ahead of them as well. Jalen Battle and Colton Lane fighting for 6th.
I'll be 100% honest, Joe, that high line is not going to work for you tonight. I've seen a lot of people struggle up there. Rachel Hunt struggled up there. Brandon Walter struggled up there. Nobody's making that high line work. No one's making it fast. If you want to go fast, you got to pay attention where Jalen Battle is running, which is right in the center of the track. That's definitely the fastest route around here and the best way to conserve your tire temperature for sure.
28th now in 6th position. Has a decent gap up to Magine in P5, but already under attack because here comes Colton Lane as they almost get into each other. Has to escape down low, and Jalen Battle catching a squirming truck in the process. Daniel Knight, one of the other riding shotgun drivers, still looking to gain a couple more positions. Going to get one right here, and this promotes him to 7th.
Yeah, Jalen probably just has to back it off a little bit, but wow, everyone really squirming around as they exit too. He's going to get a little bit of a shot there, and we're going to see whether or not they can make this go 3 wide. Colton Lane doing a good job trying to hang onto that truck behind Jalen Battle, but look at that, Daniel Knight slipping in right behind him. They're going to go, wow, it's surprising. Take a look at this. Jalen Battle is backing off, and they're going to be really tight as they exit 4.
As they get down low, he could get freight trained. Colton Lane is already to the inside. That's John Ambrose up to P9, having started in 18th. He is effectively following Jalen Battle through at this point. Knight now clear. Colton Lane getting very loose. And the number 60 catches it, but momentum is gone. That slowed up the double lot of Ambrose. He falls back to 9th through that.
Yeah, almost everyone backed out because of that. They were expecting a wreck there. Amazing save from Colton Lane. But look at this, Jalen Battle struggling now because of that slide that he had coming off of 4. He's really heated up his tires now, and he can't make anything work right now. So he's definitely going to have to rest.
Not missing anything up at the front. In fact, Hartman has pulled away from Holly. The 184 has really not been able to respond. He is towing along Rob Haynes in the 3rd position. They have definitely gotten a breakaway from 4th place Sink, who has been caught by Bajin. In fact, we might get a change of position for 4th, it looks like.
Yeah, Bajin slipping underneath of Thomas Sink right now. He's going to take it down low. Thomas Sink looks like he's conserving his tires a little bit. So these two drivers doing a good job of working with each other and not slowing each other up as we take a look on board, looking back at Thomas Sink as Dominic Bajin made that pass to 3 and 4.
That bumps the 66 up in the 4th spot. Thomas looking like he doesn't quite have the pace here in this middle stint. We're already past halfway in this race. It is ticking off very quickly. A little bit farther down, Josu Telez, apologies if I'm getting your name wrong, being chased by Besaw Jr. and Malikian, but they're side by side right now. If they keep fighting like that, they're not going to be able to run down the 24.
And that truck you saw slipping down low, that was Mike Franklin in the 82 truck. He's been struggling off of 4 all night, and it's just a miracle he's been able to save it this many times. Quite interesting that they're doing as good a job as they are.
Besaw got awful close to the outside of 4. Didn't touch it, but brought it right up to the safer barrier. And that will solidify 23rd for him because now Malikian ahead of him. P22 sets his sights on Telez. They run down the backstretch.
Yeah, Joe, these trucks are starting to hit that transition where they get super loose off the corners, and then they'll hit another transition where they get super tight off the corners. And it's just managing your tire temperature as these trucks really struggling as they exit 4 and 2.
Meanwhile, I was just watching John Ambrose manage to get 8th over Carroll. So continues an impressive climb. It's going to be a little bit of a gap, about half a second up to Jalen Battle. But again, he and Jalen have just been playing follow the leader up through many, many trucks.
And we had a truck in the outside wall that was the number 7 of Paul Williams. He really had trouble hanging on to it and got a little bit loose off of 2, and that just put him in the wall. He stuck it up there and managed to stay out of everyone's way, but that's going to be a lot of momentum lost for him and quite a bit of aero as well.
If you want a good onboard, Mike Franklin is the one you're going to see zip by to his left. Very, very quick reaction time as the number 82 manages to stay out of trouble when it really could have found him in a split second.
Yeah, you're going to see that truck the truck ahead of him just slide up there and hit that wall, and he's going to duck down immediately. Wow, amazingly fast hands there, and a good job not to lose the truck there, because it's really easy to do when you make a quick move like that.
Absolutely. Another riding shotgun. They called it an invasion when the riding shotgun boys talked to us, and I think that is an accurate description considering just how many we keep seeing show up. Meanwhile, we're watching the battle between Sink and Knight. This is for P5. Sink comes out ahead for the moment.
Sink doing a good job hanging on right there, but yeah, the top 5 and 6 really have kind of separated a bit. Daniel Knight and Thomas Sink, as Daniel Knight's got a pretty decent run here. They're about 2.5 seconds behind Dominic Magine, who is about 2.5 seconds behind William Hartman, Bradley Holly, and Rob Haynes. So these front runners really starting to take off.
Tell you what, the mid-pack, though, is getting pretty feisty. John LeBaff in 16th is followed by Hunt, Kalen, Zemke, and Williams. They were too wide all through 3 and 4. Now they're going to go too wide again. Hunt has the run down low in the number 16. And I think
LeBaff. LeBaff pulled a really aggressive block on Rachel Hunt through 4, and so Rachel just really took it down low. They're going to go almost 3 wide off of that corner as Mark Kalen decided to look low and see whether he can make it by, but that's not going to work. Adam Zemke's got the run now, and he's going to close up to the back of Rachel Hunt.
That did not work whatsoever for the 62 of Kalen. Got a little loose off the corner. Hunt drifting up high on the exit of 4. Staying within the slipstream. Look at that, all 4 trucks in a line. Once again, John Ambrose has been a scene of quite a bit of interest. He now gets up to P7 past Jalen Battle. Tired of riding in behind the number 28, but the 28 gets a good run off the corner behind them as well. Colton Lane challenging the 20 of Carroll.
Jalen doing a really smart thing and staying behind John Ambrose. When you know that a trucker is faster than you let him go by, and then you just sit in his wake, save a little bit of fuel, but follow him through the field, just like John Ambrose had done with Jalen Battle up to this point. So these two swapping positions because John Ambrose seems to have the faster truck right now.
If we could get a time comparison, Ambrose to our leaders, or one of our leaders, to see if he's actually gaining on them overall. He's had to work through quite a few bit of traffic, as down to the inside had a challenge there from Battle.
And the reason Jalen Battle went inside is because Colton Lane's right behind him. The last thing Jalen wants to do is give up another position. But if Ambrose is going to be faster, Jalen is going to follow him through. And Colton Lane looks like he's thinking the same thing. But man, they're really tight for these last couple of... Oh, we have a spinner off the corner. That is Dominic Magine.
And he's off the racing line, so no caution. Hits hard on the front of the truck, so severe engine damage. We're going to watch the replay. You can see on our graphic as well, the answer is no. Ambrose not gaining on the overall leader.
And that was just a spin off of 4. That was just him getting a little bit loose through the center of the corner. When it hits that rotation point coming out of 4, the truck just kind of floats on you. And it's really impossible to save it at that point. And then it just snapped when it hit that 12-degree banking for the front stretch and sent him straight into the wall.
That was night that we saw flash by in front of him. The 17 promoted to 4th because of that. In fact, obviously everybody behind now pops up one position, including our leader, Bradley Holly, potentially over Hartman, looking for a pass down through 1 and 2. The 67 riding the high side, trying to prevent that one. Each of them getting a little bit squirrely off of 2. That is Rob Haynes in the 29 behind, just giving watch from the popcorn position, hoping for a chance to take both.
I don't know who's going to win this out. William Hartman's really trying to carry the speed out of the corner, but look at that. He gets extremely loose, and that allows Bradley Holly to go by. William Hartman barely manages to keep it off the wall.
Oh, my goodness. 67 nearly painting the outsides of Michigan International Speedway in the hardest way possible. I think just narrowly avoided actually touching, but falls back in line from 1st to 3rd in about a single lap for the number 67. It is not over by any stretch of the imagination.
Definitely not. Bradley Holly used up quite a bit of his tires to make that move. If Rob Haynes can put the pressure on Bradley Holly, it's possible that he could just move him just a little bit through the corner. Look at this. He's got a really deep dive down into 3. Let's see whether he can hold it out and get a run on Bradley Holly for the exit of the corner. No, it looks like Hartman might get that run instead.
And if those two start fighting, this could be good night. Bradley Holly could have the front all to himself and stretch away. Ooh, great run into the corner for Rob Haynes. Down into 1, he started to gain, but did that compromise his exit? 67 has to give a big lift coming off the corner.
Rob Haynes seems to understand 1 and 2 quite a bit. That's where you can dive it in quite deep. But 3 and 4, he's diving in too deep right now.
And looks like Colton Lane This started with John Ambrose to his low side. He gets loose, tips the 00 around. And
Oh
looks
my
like
goodness,
one
who
other
was
truck involved. That was Hunter. Brandon Walter does a magnificent job avoiding any sort of contact. He's the 99.
Brandon
Does he
Walter
actually-
up in? Yeah, I think he managed to avoid contact and maintain P8 there.
Yeah, he got very close to Lane. Let's watch him on board.
Watching on board, he's going to see it happen right ahead of him. Right ahead of him. He's going to slam on the binders and dodge not one, but two trucks. Wow, what an amazing job.
Used the fact that he was spinning. If he wasn't spinning, he might have actually hit him. That is top 10 for the month worthy for me. Brandon Walter with some great heads up.
That is as close as you get, Joe. That is unbelievable.
It might have been slight contact through net code, it looked like, from that angle, but hard to tell. As we come back live, you can see everybody coming in for only our second caution of the day. But look at how many laps are left, Adam. This is going to spice up the end a treat.
Yeah, it's probably going to be about a 10-lap shootout, so that's going to be very interesting. Let's see whether everyone hits their boxes this time. Oh, 67 missed his. William
Rob
Hartman missed
Haynes.
his box.
Oh, did Hartman miss it? I thought I saw Haynes backing up. We'll see if both of them maybe potentially did. Bradley Hawley looking to be the first out. And you're right, it was the 67.
Hartman, after such a good run today, just angles into his box a little bit too deep and has to jimmy it just a little bit to make sure that his pit crew can service him correctly.
Oh, and that was costly because that's going to make him restart in 6th position.
And that promotes Jalen Battle and Thomas Sink up to P3 and P4. Those two guys, we know how strong they are on restarts and how aggressive they can be trying to fight for the lead.
Ooh, this is going to get very tasty. So as they catch back up to the Mustang pace car, your new order is Hawley leading, Rob Haynes in 2nd, Thomas Sink in 3rd, Jalen Battle 4th, and Daniel Knight, after his bad pit stop in the first caution, recovering to an excellent 5th place and could still yet be in this for the win. I'd almost dare to say that any of the top 10 really could be in this to the checkered flag.
Definitely. If Bradley Hawley gets a bad start like he did last restart, it really is open season to see who can make it in there. But we also know Bradley Hawley's really good at positioning his truck in a place that defends really well. But this track is extremely wide. There's no way you can defend every single place on this track. So someone might just have to send it, and he's not really going to be able to defend against something like that.
We keep talking about how well Jalen Battle has done coming up from 19th to 4th. Let's not forget about Adam Zemke, 22nd to 11th, and he did qualify. So that is a nice little bit of handiwork. Now, behind him is Mark Kalin. However, Mark did not put a qualifying time in, but it's been from 33rd to 12th for him.
It's quite impressive. And what's even more impressive is that these guys have been able to pull that off with an extremely unstable truck through all that madness that we've been seeing going on down there in the mid-pack. These truck drivers really putting on a clinic today. This is quite an exciting battle.
Should be getting the one to go this time by for the caution. Obviously, we do have a few more now taking repairs. As we have had a number of incidents. Colton Lane, Austin Hunter, Dominic Begine still getting a little bit of work done. Looks like he came back out and then back in. Wasn't happy with how the repairs went. Unfortunately, we now have had 3 DNFs for sure. Ambrose is gone. Jonathan Warren has retired, and William Lee, as we mentioned earlier, is out of this race. So of our 35 starters, potentially we could still have 32 running. It just depends on whether or not we see Hunter. Begine is back out, so only Hunter that we're waiting to see if he returns.
as they're lining up now. It's going to be really interesting to see what Bradley Holly does with this restart. He has not led a restart yet this race, so it's going to be very exciting to see whether or not he can make a good restart. We've seen him make good restarts in this series in the past. He's usually one of the best, and so, but Thomas Sink is definitely one of the best at predicting good restarts, and he's starting right behind Bradley Holly. So it'll be interesting to see whether these two can really start snaking away from the field when we get back to green.
And when we get back to green, it will be 9 laps to go. Again, if you're just joining us, there are 2 green-white checker attempts to try and finish this under green if we need them. The racing's been pretty decent so far. We certainly expected a lot more cautions than the 2 we've had in the 45 laps that we've completed so far. So what are we going to get out of Bradley Holly, this season's champion, alongside Rob Haynes, one of the ones that was fighting him for that championship? Come through 3 and 4, past all the campers, as well as the hospitality tent. Now the Mustang pace car ducks down low, enters into pit lane. Holly gets on the lap pedal, and Haynes seems to be caught out sleeping a little bit, because here comes Thomas Sink with a huge push. Timed that to perfection and is all the way up into second, even by the time they cross the start-finish line.
He's pushing Bradley Holly into one, and now he has to back off a little bit, and that allows Rob Haynes to get a decent run, but he's got nowhere to go. He's going to have to hang out right behind him, and Bradley Holly's starting to snake away with the lead.
Still seem to work out well in their favor. They've dropped the gap back to Daniel Knight in 4th position, and they're battling side by side in that spot. William Hartman desperately hoping to get up to that top trio to see if he can maybe try and get there for the win. Watching from Hartman's perspective, as we can see them going 2 wide up ahead. Haynes goes low, Sink goes high, as Bradley Holly leads another lap across the line.
William Hartman battling with Daniel Knight in that 4th position, trying to go underneath the riding shotgun driver. He's going to stick it in there, but it looks like Daniel Knight's holding strong on that outside. Hartman's got to back it out a little bit. Daniel Knight extremely loose, but he's able to hold on to it. That takes away the momentum from Knight, and looks like these top 5 are really duking it out right now.
They're managing to pull a little bit of the gap back to 6th position. Jalen Battle, as Hartman now fully beyond and up into 4th. Can he run down these top 3 and challenge them? Down to 7 laps to go.
The field snaking across through the front stretch. Everyone trying to get draft and trying not to have the person behind the draft as well. So almost looks like an IndyCar race out there right now. These guys doing a really good job of hanging on to the trucks.
So we look back at 7th spot, Chatley, and a little bit of action in that number 59. Down low, Jalen Battle in the 28, and then behind them, that's Colin Carroll, who tried to follow Jalen through. Almost looks like it might work out. Jalen drifting up high, opening up the gap on the bottom, then ducks back down low in front of the 20.
Jalen's never really felt comfortable on these short runs, and it looks like that's playing true again today. He's really starting to lose grips of the people ahead of him. He's lost about 2 seconds to the folks ahead, and he's really struggling through the center of the corners right now.
Speaking of losing time, Thomas Sink losing time to Rob Haynes, and now has William Hartman all over the back of him. The top 2 are pulling a gap, which is probably exactly what they want. Fewer drivers to compete with means that is a little bit less risk up there, as the 67 now gets underneath the 48 of Thomas Sink, looking incredibly fast. William Hartman crosses the line in 3rd, that time by, but is not fully clear.
We've got a super big gaggle for P6 right now. We've got Jalen Battle, Colin Carroll, Brendan Chatley, 3 wide as they go into 1, followed by Brandon Walter and Mark Kalin. These guys are going to have to figure something out before they exit 2, or else they're going to hit. Man, they managed to save.
Woo, Carroll getting awful squirrely down low. That interrupts his momentum. Battle still challenging Chatley to try to take away that 6th spot. They're going to go 2 by 2 by 2 through 3 and 4. Oh, and he drifts up a little bit, but stays out of the side of the car on top.
These truckers are really using everything that these trucks have. These trucks are going to start to transition into the loose phase now. It looks like we have a battle for the lead. I think Rob Haynes is Whoa, we have a truck up high in the wall, it looks like.
Well, that's Bajin. I think he's getting lapped. He's trying to stay out of the way, and it looks like he's now going to go low. But this does allow Bradley Holly to pull a magnificent gap over the 29, with Rob Haynes falling away and William Hartman catching. I think this is going to be too little, too late for anybody to get up underneath Bradley Holly.
Yeah, Brandon Chatley really trying to hold off the whole world right now as everyone's really starting to lose it loose down here with the exit 4. Look at this gaggle as they go across the line.
Almost 4 wide there, and that was the 20 of Carroll having to catch it multiple times out of 4 in the middle of 3 wide and still manages not to hit anybody.
Everybody's just going nuts right now, trying to get as many positions, as many points as they can, and they're managing to keep it green this whole time. Keep their trucks out of the wall. Quite impressive driving from this entire crew.
Ooh, sending it in deep. That's the number 62 of Mark Kalin. Everybody being ultra aggressive at this point. 2 to go. If they can keep it green for 1 more lap, we're going green all the way to the end. Rob Haynes might have to lose out because, oh, and we got a caution.
We will have a green-white checker.
Ooh. Looking to see who caused this exactly. I see Bajin in the pits, but I don't think that was him. Was it potentially Bajin? Oh, you know what? Dominic blew his engine. He might have actually been the cause.
If that's the case, that's going to be 2 points on his license, and he'll get an EOL for next session if that's what happened to him, and if he caused this caution.
Yeah, he came to a halt on the backstretch. I want to say just about the time that it was called.
That's just not watching your temps well enough. He thought he could make it through, but unfortunately, he blows his engine and stops on the racetrack, and that draws out a caution. That's going to make this a very hard win for Bradley Holly if he's going to try and keep that P1 till the end of this race.
And I'm going to get a correction here. It looks like we only have 1 green-white checker from the information that I'm receiving. Now, as we said, Bajin, of course, dealing with a lot of damage from his wreck earlier on. His engine was smoking initially when we saw him have his first incident, and he had to get it repaired. So that probably contributed to it blowing up this second time, even though he spent time trying to wrench that thing back into workable condition. See a lot of fakers for pit lane here. How many actual takers, though? Rachel Hunt's going to come in. Robert Besaw. Josu Telez. A lot of drivers towards the back. No surprise there. Paul Williams. Adam Young. A couple more. Looks like Duchesne, Ketchum, and Lane.
So that is going to put, I believe, P24 on back is going to be on new tires. So that shouldn't challenge anybody for the lead, but it's going to be really interesting. This will be the first restart these guys have had on old tires, so expect quite a bit of wheel spin, especially with this hot of a track.
Oof, this will be some excitement for sure, especially based on what we saw before with a 9-lap shootout and how aggressive everybody was getting. Now, you were kind of looking at the thermometer while we were on that green flag run. Have you noticed anything interesting?
Well, the track temperature has gone down since the beginning of the race. We're down 5 degrees to 115, and that's not that much of a difference, but it does make quite a bit of difference, and that's mostly due to the fact that we've been racing for 47 minutes. So it's 3:55 virtual standard time in the afternoon, and so these guys are really thankful that that sun angle is a little bit lower and that they're able to get a little bit more purchase out of the track right now.
Absolutely. So they come across the line. I don't believe they'll get the lights out this time. Let's watch and see. Looks like lights are going to stay on for at least one more. Again, if you're just joining us, this is a 2-lap shootout, a green-white-checkered, the first and only one that we should see for round 1 of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. And Bradley Holly will be taking the green on the top spot, but has his main rival this whole race, William Hartman, starting beside him. What a recovery from the 67, Adam, after making that mistake on the last set of pit stops under caution, climbing up the spots and putting himself in a position to take advantage.
Yeah, it was a really good job to make that climb up there, but he's used quite a bit of his tires to do it. Whereas Bradley Hawley used his tires to get underneath William Hartman a little bit in the previous restart, but really he's been able to save his tires quite a bit. So William Hartman's going to have to do something quite impressive on this restart to put a challenge for Bradley Hawley. And Bradley Hawley, if he gets a restart like we know he can get, then he has a really good opportunity to make William Hartman go in places where his truck doesn't want to go. And that can give Bradley Hawley an edge.
Let's not discount Haynes, Sink, Knight, all very fast drivers behind, especially if those two tangle on the final lap. Someone's got to come around and take advantage. As they now start to go double file for our last restart. Still have 30 trucks that will be taking this restart now that we've lost Bajin. And pretty much for good. He is in pit lane trying to get repairs, but he does not have enough time to get that engine fixed to get back out here.
Yeah, you know, Joe, the person I'm worried about causing hold up the most is actually one of our biggest movers today, Jalen Battle. Jalen is not very good on the short runs. He doesn't seem to like the way the truck behaves, and so it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not he can hold on to that 8th position or whether or not it's going to bottle up people behind him. So expect to see him getting shuffled around quite a bit on this restart.
So they've got about a mile more to think about how they want to do this. Hopefully this won't be too crazy on the first lap because we want to see this finish under green. If they do have an accident on the first lap coming back to green, then obviously they will throw the caution and that will be the end of the race. So coming down the backstretch, they've taken the advice and the new rules to heart very well thus far. It's been impressively clean racing, especially considering how hard they've been fighting one another. Will they be able to do that for just a single lap to finish round 1 under green? Through 3 and 4 now. Mustang pace car getting ready to jump down and release Bradley Hawley. There he goes. The 184 waiting for him to get closer into pit lane. He accelerates away. It's a pretty good jump. Is this going to be enough of a jump to allow Haynes to get inside of Hartman? He's got a nose inside, right along that left rear quarter panel. They start to build up speed through 1 and 2. Holly still holding that gap up at the front, but the 67 starts to pick up speed on that middle line. Takes it well off the corner. Looks to try and reel in the 184. So far, so good. And we got a caution that ends it.
That's Mike Franklin in the 82 truck.
And unfortunately, that was down to Mike Franklin on his own. And is that the checkers there, I believe? Or is that...
The checkers will be next
or
lap.
no, excuse me. Checkers will be next lap, yeah. Sorry, I saw the finishing up on our graphic, and I was trying to figure out if we were done this time or next time. But Holly doesn't care. Either way, he is going to be our victor here today in round 1. We'll go back to the replay once we come around to the start-finish line here, since we're so close to finishing this final lap. Sad we didn't get it under green, but we got some great racing here, Adam.
Yeah, this definitely bodes very well for the rest of the season. It's awesome to see such a big field and such amazing drives tonight. We got guys who have clawed their way up the field. We got guys who struggled all night, and we got everybody racing really clean. So this is an amazing series to watch for sure.
My question at the start of the broadcast was whether or not Bradley Hawley can carry the momentum of 7 out of 10 in his wins last season. He's given us an emphatic yes, because he's going to kick things off with another victory in his number 184 truck here at Michigan. It may be under yellow, but he still certainly had to do it the hard way. Didn't even get pulled. Victory for the number 184. Let's take a look at exactly what happened to cause this last caution. I mentioned, Adam, that it was a lone truck incident, which is a bit of a shame for a way for us to end it. Sort of anticlimactic.
Yeah, and I think this just has to do with how loose these trucks were getting on these old tires. And you're just going to watch him. He's going to go up to the high side and try and arc it down into the corner. And the way that this corner releases, corner number 2 releases onto the backstretch, it's just going to send the rear of that truck around. You're going to see it right here. He just loses the rear end of that truck, and that just sends him into the infield. There's nothing he can do at that point.
You see the 82 whipping completely around and ending the race. With that, we are not going to end our broadcast, but we are going to take a short break. Stick around, because you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC, which will be followed immediately by the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. Round 1 of the PRL GTE Truck Series was won this season by Bradley Hawley. After starting from 4th on the grid, he certainly looked like the one to beat alongside the other driver who was up at the front for the vast majority, William Hartman. Put it on pole, but couldn't seal the deal. He'll still take a 2nd place. Rob Haynes with a nice 3rd, and Thomas Saint climbing from 10th to a 4th. Brennan Chatley similarly 11th to a 5th for himself. Daniel Knight kind of moved backwards instead. Even though he was 3rd, he finishes in 6th position. And then, of course, the driver we keep talking about who was mighty impressive, Jalen Battle, who finished in 7th despite gritting up in 19th. Colin Carroll will take P8 at the end of the day. Brandon Walter will be 9th, and Mark Kalin didn't get a qualifying in, so from 33rd all the way up to 10th.
And we have Mitchell Clark in P11 and John LeBeff in P12 tonight. Adam Zemke finishing P13. Then we have Nick Schmeg in P14, up an impressive 10 spots from 24th on the grid. And at one point was in 30th before finishing in 14th tonight. Then we have Robert Mulliken in 15th position, Brett Adams in 16th, Frank Pichak in 17th position, Doyle Lawrence in 18th, Jose Tellez in 19th, and 20th is going to be Robert Massad Jr.
21st goes to Adam Shane, with Rachel Hunt finishing 22nd. Nicholas Hunter with a P23. Adam Young finishes 24th, and Nick Ketchum in 25th. Then it's Paul Williams finishing in 26th spot, with Danny Duchesne in 27th. Colton Lane will be 28th, and Mike Franklin in 29th. He's the last car on the lead lap. 30th went to Baron Hilton. Then we get into the DNFs. Bajin, Hunter, Ambrose, Warren, and Lee Zwar did not start for today's race. We have our winner ready to talk to us. Bradley Hawley joins us after a championship. We talked about it in the broadcast, whether you could carry the momentum, and yes, you can. Congratulations on a victory.
Thank you very much. It's great to be back in victory lane.
So tonight you didn't put it on pole, but you were clearly up there and clearly fast for much of the early race. To us, it looked like William Hartman was really your main concern. Was it for you? Did you feel like he was the only threat, or was there anybody else that you really kind of kept half an eye on?
Oh yeah, definitely William was probably my biggest threat, and then Rob Haynes. He's been consistently up front battling with the lead a lot. So I mean, I'm always keeping an eye on both of them.
So we've got some new rules in the series this season, designed to improve the racing and get a little bit more green flag runs out there. I'd say it looked like a success from our perspective. How have the drivers been taking it behind the scenes? Is it mostly a positive reaction to the penalty points they've added in terms of cautions?
Yeah, definitely. It seems like everybody's being a little bit more cautious just due to the changes that we made in PRL. With you get a certain amount of points, you could possibly get you have to sit out a race or taken out of the league completely if you cause enough accident.
Yeah, we went over those in the pre-race, and we were pretty impressed with the results of the race itself. Charlotte is up next, so a mile and a half with pretty steep banking. Do you see yourself faring well there as well?
I sure hope so. I'm going to be starting practice here in a couple days for Charlotte.
Right, no rest for the weary. That was our winner, Bradley Hawley, who wins here today at Michigan. And then up next, 2nd place, William Hartman is talking to our own Adam Lindgren.
Yeah, William, good finish today in P2, but after that second to last pit stop where you missed your box by a couple feet, were you concerned that you'd be able to make your way back up to the front tonight?
Yeah, definitely fortunate to come away with the finish that we did after that little bit of a mistake. Man, it's hard to win these races, so you can't afford to be making those little mistakes like that. So really fortunate we were able to keep the track position. The Banny Benz Toyota Tundra was really fast all night, and man, it was a little bit of a heartbreaker, honestly, when I slid to the box the first time. But like I said, we were able to stay up there and fight our way back up towards the front. Really wish we could have gone green there at the finish. Felt like we might have had something for that 184, but all in all, a pretty good night.
Yeah, it's great to see you back on form this season. And going into Charlotte next week, do you think you have something for Bradley Hawley? You think you'll be able to stay up there and challenge him for the win again?
Yeah, that's the hope week in and week out, man. Put in a bunch of work to try and contend. It's a lot of tough competition up here at the front of this pack. This is a great group of guys. So you definitely got to put the work in to make sure you're on top of your game. And took a little bit of a season off, but we're back. We're ready to really go after it, and feel like I'm in as good a shape in the sim as I've been in a long time. So really excited to get this season going.
Well, it's awesome to see you up here. And since we haven't had you up here in, about a season, is there anyone you want to thank tonight?
Yeah, of course. Got to thank everybody over at the PRL for putting together an amazing league. It is so much fun to come out here and race with these guys, especially with the level of competition that we've got. Got to thank everybody over at Waterback. It's an awesome group of guys. And I think we got a 1, 2, 3, 4 finish tonight. So it's awesome for our group. Everybody over at Benny Vans for sponsoring us. Can't thank them enough. Really appreciate everything that they do for us. So can't thank everybody enough.
Well, thanks for chatting with us, William, and we look forward to seeing you up here again in the future.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was William Hartman, P2 tonight, and now it looks like Rob Haynes with Joe.
Absolutely. Haynes starting on the front row, but finishing in third. Still a podium. Rob, it looked like the truck was a handful going back and looking at how your race went. So there's a couple times where you started to have it to catch it, it seemed, off of 2 and 4.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of that going on tonight, Joe. Catching it was the theme of the evening. So couple of tough laps there, and managed to hang up front, which is what I need to do, and start off this season on the right note here.
You restarted in third with Hartman there on the outside. Did you have visions of grandeur, thinking you could maybe win this, take advantage of he and Holly trying to battle and sneaking through while they're distracted?
Yeah, I was actually thinking that exact same thing, Joe. When I entered into one there, I entered a little bit low, and when you're here at Michigan, that low lane can be a little bit slippery, especially on some unused tires. We had laps on those tires, and I was concerned about that. So, I mean, bringing home top 5, that was what I was thinking about. But if I could have kept in front of William through 1 and 2 there, I think I had a good chance at Brad there. But he was fast all night. You guys know that, and he's a good competitor. And congrats on the win to him.
Of course, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. You're only 2 spots away from a championship last season. Are you going to set your sights on taking the championship itself, or do you not want to worry about it?
No, I'm definitely geared for championship, Joe. That's what this is all about. Get through these races and be consistent, and get some good finishes. And this is a good start to the.
Absolutely. Third place is going to be a nice haul of points. Is there anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Oh yeah, of course, the fans for watching, GSRC for putting this on. This is fantastic. I love going back and watching the racing and learning some new techniques from these guys who are a little bit faster. PRL for putting this on for us. Waterback Racing, having fun with these guys. Savona Family Chiropractor, Inline 309 ETC, and again, you guys, Sean, Adam, Joe, I appreciate everything you're doing. We all do, and some good racing. I hope the fans enjoyed it tonight.
Well, thank you for the kind words, and I know we definitely enjoyed it up here. That was third place finisher Rob Haynes. And of course, we've got to close up after all this fun coverage that we've had. So we want to give a quick thank you to the PRL for bringing us back for another season of coverage here for the Truck Series. But also a thank you goes to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. So you can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. Our Twitter is @GSR Channel, Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. When you get the opportunity, make sure and head on over to our YouTube page. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you see a big red button that says so. Click that, you won't miss a moment here on the GSRC. As we mentioned, heading down to North Carolina for Charlotte. That'll be Wednesday, September 25th, a week from now at 8:50 p.m. Eastern. But we also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.